Skeleton Crew, episodes 5 and 6. I feel like we kind of have to do these every fortnight rather than weekly because not enough happens per episode. But I'd say 5 definitely felt like a full episode.
You're right, Daniel. The views are bad on Skeleton Crew episodes.
Why didn't you watch the show? It's Disney's fault.
There's not enough tension / hatred towards it, but it's also not interesting enough. I'm sure even the people who do like the red circle Easter egg videos, there's less on these.
It's definitely clasping at straws. Even positive reviews of it usually are, it's surprisingly good.
Yeah.
And the surprisingly is Disney's fault of lowering everyone's expectations, whereas there's nothing to rage bait this show because it's just good.
It's the ultimate playing it safe, I think this show is.
It's a weird middle ground between a kid show and a family show. Episode 5 especially had like multiple gruesome deaths that you just don't see. It was the most Goonies episode for sure because you had
a cave of, yeah.
You had kids walking through a cave avoiding booby traps to get to a pirate treasure trove. And it's like, oh, this is the Goonies episode. Which is weird that it's the most Goonies episode 5 episodes into a show that is basically the Goonies. I think the problem with it is its format. Okay. So it's kind of being crammed into these episodes that don't fit the vibe for it. Like they're too long to be just a kid show or to keep a kid entertained. And it's drawing it out for a week at a time each thing. Whereas like the Goonies, for instance, you can show a kid a movie, they'll watch the movie, they'll love the movie, they could rewatch that movie 1,000 times.
Yep.
But with this show, it ends up being so long and disjointed because it's stuffed into the episodic adventure style that it doesn't really end up being like rewatchable almost because you have to sit through a lot.
Well, even their little adventures aren't something that I'd ever want to go back to.
Episode 6 especially.
Yeah, well, it's like there are other, I don't know, what's another kids show made for adults kind of, like Avatar. I could go back and watch any episode along there. It's an ultimate goal with mini episodes and adventures, and I could go back and watch any mini adventure in there, whereas I will never watch this show again.
I think we did talk about it when we did our Avatar review, how much they would cram into those 20-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Like all good kids show pack a shit ton into those, whereas this is movie pacing, but then they just randomly crop it up, which is it's a streaming problem in general, to be honest.
My biggest revelation about this show when we're watching episode 5 was I'm like, this kind of feels just like an episode of Rick and Morty. The spaceship is the portal gun, and they're like, oh, we showed up on, like, Rick's like, hey, I know this place. It used to be the craziest, like, bar full of adventure ever. And it's like, what the heck? They made it into a spa now? It's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, this is just an episode of Rick and Morty. Like, this just feels like a weird interdimensional cable, like...
Rick and Morty does riff off everything else, though. It's like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Where it's like, everything's like how The Simpsons ends up predicting everything.
But like this show doesn't need to. This show's doing something new, at least for Star Wars. When have we ever had sci-fi Goonies before? Why are we 5 episodes in and I feel like I've seen this before? I'm like, it was great. Don't get me wrong. Episode 5, strong episode.
Yeah.
I'll never watch it ever again.
I think it was the second best episode.
Yes.
Like episode 1 and then 5. You could probably watch episode 1 then episode 5 and be fine.
Agreed. But it's like, yeah, this just feels like a weird... The adventure isn't adventuring.
I don't know. It doesn't feel like they've earned the pirate's treasure yet. Like, I know it's not the final goal. The final goal is at Hatton, but them finding this pirate cove, and in the initial opening of 5, Wim breaks down and says the adventure isn't what he thought it would be. They haven't been in any real danger.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess they have, mainly in episode 2, when everyone was standing around ready to blast him or at least take him to the brig.
I mean, they went to jail.
Yeah, but
they got scared straight.
It never really felt dangerous.
Yeah. He's just like, I miss my mum. It's like...
Oh, that mum is coming back.
Very much so. They wouldn't have mentioned her. But what worked in episode 5, do you think, that the other episodes couldn't achieve?
I think it was literally just the length of it allowed them to actually...
It did feel a bit longer.
It was 45 minutes. It was about the same length as the first episode. It seems like we kind of go plot-heavy episode, character episode, plot episode, character episode. And 5 was the plot episode.
And there's a lot of different sets as well for episode 5, or at least it's like starts on the spaceship, exit spaceship, lobby, hotel room, mud pits, treasure hole with Cthulhu, booby trap area, acid room, jewel room, like
compared to Obi-Wan where they're like, yes, desert.
Or like at least like other episodes where it's just been like spaceship and then like their destination. Nothing else is really like, they haven't been in a single destination because they had to like obviously short episodes.
Yeah, less set pieces.
This one, they're spending more time in more sets. You know, they spend like a fair amount of time like near the mud pits when they're like fighting off the guards. They use the steam valve. I'm like, they were there long enough that I remember it. They spent more time there than they did with the owl woman who gave them the wrong direction to Ad-Aden, you know?
Yeah, that was a rough episode.
And that's
for
that was like
reason.
the main part of episode 3. They should have taken their time and they should have had proper adventures on each planet.
Yeah, it should have been just 45 minutes per episode, have it be an old school style show, and we can thread the character stuff into the plot episodes rather than, I know you waited a week, but sorry, we're doing a KB episode now.
Yeah.
Next week we'll tell you what happens. And it breaks it up too much. But this episode starts with the parents, which is the weakest storyline by far.
Oh, yeah.
While simultaneously having the most potential.
There's so much potential, but they're not doing anything with it.
I was like, oh, we're seeing the parents. And then all we get is Wim's dad gets roped into it by Needle's mum, who says, like, use this to break into your command center. I'm like, ooh, little espionage, we're doing it. And then he goes, beep, 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 he got it. And then the droid comes over, which, considering the droid's in charge, it does make me kind of feel like the overseer might be a droid.
Okay.
And he's just, like, programmed to only do one thing, and he never got new instructions.
I feel like it's like a Mr. House, where it's like a guy who's like in a computer.
Oh,
or just like
has Star Wars done
an
that?
AI.
I guess KB is kind of halfway there, so they could technically do that. But yeah, it's like stuck in their own ways, so like the droid doesn't know that everything happened, just never got new instructions. One thing the parents do let us know is that they're trying to send a message to the kids. Wim's dad's boss is Fern's mum.
Yes.
Feels like she probably could have just done the breaking into the system.
Yeah, it's like they're all kind of like working together anyway. Like they're all worried for the kids.
Yeah. The parents are doing something and we don't get to see any of it. We don't get to see any of the planning. We literally see them trying to execute one thing.
We pretty much know the exact same thing that we know in episode 1. Like their story hasn't really progressed. I mean, it hasn't progressed
They
at
said
all.
the one thing of they know that they're hidden, but they obviously don't know that it's been 1,000 years or the war's over.
They're
I
like,
guess.
we want to get a message out. Don't worry, we're not going to say anything about the location of Ad-Aden.
Yes, which is confusing as to like how are you going to help the kids if you don't
Very true.
tell them that. It does reveal that they're the mint. They're the planet that has been minting the money.
Yep.
Because we were wondering about what that whole planet does if they're all analysts. I still don't really know, but if their planet is minting the money, whatever resource they're using, I guess, there's probably just printed money in a big room because they're waiting for like a ship to come and collect it.
Yeah.
But maybe that ship's never come. I don't know why the parents haven't cottoned on to the fact that maybe they don't know they're a minting planet. They just know it's meant to be secret.
I assume we're going to find something out in like the finale.
But we've only got 2 episodes. We're cutting it short for reveals. We have a lot to reveal in only 2 episodes. After 5, I was thinking, okay, we've got 3 episodes left. Saw that episode 5 was 25 minutes and a KB episode. And I was like, okay, that's a bit rough. We have 2 episodes to wrap it up. If they're both long, I guess we could do it, but I don't think the parents are going to come to fruition. And also we were thinking there might be multiple seasons, but it also feels like we're going to Ad-Aden, which is going to limit it a fair bit.
Yeah, I mean, unless the next season all takes place at Aten, with the end of it being the crossover episode with Mando, the movie, or something.
And the story of episode 5, once we leave the parents after finding out basically nothing, and I don't know, it was kind of just like a reason for time to have passed almost for the kids that they crammed the parents in there, which annoyed me. It's like when I played Assassin's Creed 1. I'm a weirdo. I was playing Assassin's Creed 1. All of the mystery is the Desmond stuff, and all of the mechanics are the Altair stuff.
Yeah.
So everyone wants to play Altair, and everyone's like, oh, I have to be Desmond again? I was always so keen to be Desmond again, because there's this massive conspiracy mystery. That's what I'm saying. I'm a weirdo. I get that. I love a mystery. But I wanted to know what was going on there. Whereas, like, the Altair stuff was very cool, but there was no mystery. It was literally just like, you're doing the cool missions and stuff. But anyway, yeah, I always wanted that Desmond stuff, which is like this. It's like the kids are doing the adventure, but all the mystery is with the parents.
Yes.
And it's like, instead of us getting a little bit of both going back and forth, it's like, we're just like dip our toe in there and then go to the kids. But the kids' story is they need to go to the old pirate lair of whoever owned their ship so that they can find his coordinates. Even though it seems like every At-Aten sister planet that they now have coordinates to would also contain the coordinates to At-Aten, because that place had a room with all the other coordinates. But instead, we want to do a pirate cave.
You have a spaceship, so
Yes.
you don't even have to like go far away and adventure to it. It's like literally fly the spaceship up to the observation deck, have Jod jump out I'm sure he'll be more than willing to
It's
go
not
and get it.
like Sam and Frodo. You don't have to adventure.
Yeah,
Like,
you have
you just fly there.
Instantaneous space
Yep.
travel.
And they had no problem with the last one. And we would get more planet mystery. Like that next planet.
What's
could
different about
reveal-
it?
Yeah.
You know?
Give me another vault.
Yeah.
I want another vault tech thing.
Oh, it was also a mint, but something went wrong. You know, that's where you can give Jod like his turn of character.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure he could stay and gather up what was left of this planet, but he wants the real deal.
So they have to do some shenanigans to get in. It's like the childish section of the episode because it is a kid show after all. Like, I'm not mad at it for doing this. The show's also really well written for pretty much everything. Like, most shows I'm like, oh, you could do that better. You could do that better. But for this show, I'm like, everything is pretty good. It's more just the format that's annoying me.
No, it was good. And I enjoyed the whole, like, the setup to finally get to the story when they land on the pleasure planet. And it's like, how are we going to get you in? You're lying to the concierge, dressing the kids up as like the powerful elders, or you know,
Yes,
and like
that can't speak.
the made up language. And then I love SM33 being like, where are the fighting pits? Oh no, like the lair's ruined.
And
like,
he's very good. Nick Frost does a very good job
he's
with him.
very good.
But it also gives Jod, Nana Wood, terrible name, or Dash Rendar in this episode. No, it's like Dash Silver.
Yeah,
I think
it
they go
was
with
Dash something.
Yeah, so they call him Dash in this episode because he meets up with someone that he used to know, because there is a banking clan summit on the planet, which is fun. Like, just little world building things that, of course, the banking clan has summits on like a spa planet. It gives a reason for Jod to hang out with the kids, not in a life-threatening situation and not just cooped up on a ship. Like, they have a low stakes thing they have to do, so you get fun banter between them. And he gets to play that parental role without constantly thrusting them from one scenario to the next, which I'd say is still kind of a problem. Like, the kids don't have a lot of agency to want to do stuff. They're still definitely getting led around by Jod. And it does make us feel like he's warming up to him. And they're warming up to him because he has a little bit with Wim at the start as well, which works really well with the twist because they find the downstairs.
They do.
They find the treasure trove.
They get help from a lovely Cthulhu monster. And go through some booby traps.
Oh, the booby trap with the don't lose your head.
Don't lose your head. That one was great. There's a laser trap that cuts off your head, but because they're all kids and they don't have reaction time, like Smee and Jod both like get out of the way, and then it like literally just goes over all of their heads, and I'm like, fuck, that was so
just the steady there. That's like,
good.
oh, like perfect way to use kids.
Yes. And then the other like booby trap, which was like, I'm like, that's so freaking smart, is you walk into a room that reverses like the polarity or the gravity, and then you go up into spikes.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn, that's so good.
The perfect way to make Star Wars booby trap.
It's like, it's still booby traps, but like they have a spacey twist to them,
Yeah.
you know, which is great. And then we have a little bit of adventure in there. They have to solve like an Uncharted-esque like mystery.
Yes, they do solve it pretty quick, and like they solve it.
I mean,
off-
it's still you know, we still only have 40 minutes. You know?
Yeah, but like there's not even like a pan over. We get to see it before it happens. It's kind of just like, hey, look at this, and then the camera goes over, and then he's figured it out.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just I want more puzzle solving. Like, I don't know. I feel like you see more of the inner workings in an Indiana Jones, like how he's like, wait a minute, if I do this, then this does this and this.
A Lord of the Rings, where it's like speak, friend, and enter when they go to Moria, and
They have to
it
think about
shows
it.
like it's like when they don't get it, it's like they're just like, oh, and they're just like sitting down doing nothing for a while. It
Yeah.
feels like they've been like stuck there for ages.
Yeah, show your working, I feel, is important for those kind of things. Whereas it really is just like, it's a good puzzle where it's like,
I'd almost rather it be luck that
Oh, really?
that gets them in.
like a kid just does fucks around. I did say who's the first kid that's going to grab something.
Or like even just like someone throws money in there for like whatever reason, for X reason,
Oh, the
like
acid puzzle.
lowers the acid bath.
Oh, actually, yes, they showed the working on that one, and I did enjoy that one because I was able to shout at the TV and go, "It's money!
Yeah, I feel smart.
I win the kids show!"
Yes, but
hell
they
yeah.
they get through the acid trap, and they finally get to the old captain whose name I've already forgotten. Rack
Tack.
something. Tack.
You said Tack,
Captain
yeah.
Tack.
Who is definitely Wim's mum because we don't see the face.
We don't. I'm like, why is he obscure? I'm like, I bet it's SM33. So
Oh, that's right.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
your guess is that SN33 was the captain the whole time, not the first mate, which would be a twist. That is something. But we did see two pirates had stabbed each other.
Yes,
And
that's-
also there was a pirate's cabin. So I guess Smee could have been programmed to like think he was the captain, and he's like, yes, I need stuff.
the last person alive on the ship is the captain. So he would eventually become the captain. I don't know, whatever. But yes, we get access to the treasure room, which is actually all just booby trapped. And Jod's like, don't touch anything. And then we see Wim
immediately find a lightsaber.
and he's like, his autism meter like just starts like bouncing off.
We're going to touch that, aren't we?
Yeah, he's like, I'm definitely going to touch that. And then they find a suspicious rump roast.
Which again is like, it's a cool puzzle, but it does raise the question that either no one dined with this captain ever, or this captain always had a fresh feast going. Otherwise, someone at some point would have noticed, his servant would have come to collect the roast, and he would have like, leave that one. So silly, but works in this
I mean, not
scenario.
everything's obviously booby trapped, because we see Jod make away with like a bunch of treasure
Everything,
later.
Yeah, maybe he turned them off.
But they like, we need to find where the episode kind of like, I don't know if it lost me, but I was like, okay, guys, it's like, we're looking for a data port. Anyone see something that looks like a data port? And it's like, the kid's like, what's a data port? He goes, well, it looks like a data port, you know? And I'm like, okay,
They are kids.
They are kids, but they eventually find the MacGuffin. And then upon downloading its data of where At-Atten is, Jod switches back to his old ways. And he's like, well, I don't really need the kids anymore.
Yeah, it was a good turn.
I invoke my right to challenge the captain as per the code.
33's got the restraining bolt on, so he can't stop him from hurting the kids. Like, he can't do violence at the moment. He no longer needs the kids. He apparently has, like, the thing, but he does obviously still want the ship, and he needs me to fly the ship and help out. So he's like, well, I mean, I can become captain, and also pirate rules.
Yes, he invoked the right of parlay.
Yes, it's Pirates of the Caribbean. All my knowledge of pirates comes from Pirates of the Caribbean.
But it's like, we see that, it's like, okay, we get it. All pirates are like honorable and follow the pirate code, because we see it again
Not
in the next
honorable,
episode.
but yes, the code is.
They follow the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, not honorable. But yeah, so Jod challenges Fern for the right of captain, and then literally, I mean, he doesn't have to do anything, but he holds a knife to her neck.
Well, he says, pretty please,
just say yield, and I don't have to hurt you. And then she tries, but she is still a child.
she literally says, like, you can't kill us, we're kids. And he's like, it just actually makes you easier to kill.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And I'm like, damn, like, he probably would have done it.
It was
this
good, because
greedy bastard.
I think last review I called him a good guy. I was like, he is a good guy.
It's because he's had opportunities up until now to be evil,
Yeah.
but he hasn't had a reason enough to actually follow it through.
Yeah, he's not Satan. He's obviously not the Wolfman bad, but he is a bad guy, which I'm glad they brought back. I'm glad he actually kept being a bad guy. He wasn't just always, he didn't always have a heart of gold.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to kill kids. That's a fine line to draw.
Yeah, and it's like, although he did show that he has some like mystic Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn-esque, knowledge and wisdom to him, he obviously he's never been a Jedi, it doesn't seem like, or he wasn't a Jedi.
He had some training because he said the Qui-Gon line.
He said the Qui-Gon line, and he can use the Force well enough.
Yes.
Where he can, pull things from across the room.
We haven't seen any big display, but yeah, he can move things pretty good.
And he does turn on a lightsaber off screen.
Yes. He is one of the main things that I'm worried they won't be able to wrap up in time. And knowing Disney, they probably won't get this a second season. They're going to Acolyte it. Because we heard a lot of talk about the Acolyte, and that still got cancelled. This show looks as good as the Acolyte as far as effects worthy. It still looks way better than Obi-Wan. But it still feels like they're probably going to cancel this because it's not garnering enough attention.
I'm sure we can get a whole episode flashback of Jod, and I'm sure it will be good.
I just want him to be something interesting, but I don't think they have time to do that. They're just going to be like, oh, I was a youngling.
I think his character's a fake out, and he's just a guy who knows how to use the Force. He doesn't need a backstory. He's just a pirate who knows the mysteries. He just follows this space religion.
Yeah. I feel like if they didn't put a mystery around it, that'd be okay. But because they have kind of made it mysterious, I do want there to be something my ideal world would be he was an Inquisitor, which is why he's a bad guy.
Yep.
But obviously, I don't know. It's something more interesting than just Reva, how Reva's or Cal Kestis. Everyone was in the temple, and then everything went down, and then they left the temple. Cal became a poor person. Reva became a bad guy. This guy became a pirate, I guess. I want it to be something more interesting.
When fleeing Order 66 as a Padawan, that's why his training is so, he only just learnt Force Pull,
He can do one thing.
He doesn't know Mind Trick. It would have been helpful when he was at the concierge desk.
Yes, definitely.
I was like, he's going to use the trick.
He should have tried and have it fail. That would have been fun.
Yeah, it should have been sorry?
But I guess maybe, they're dancing around how much he knows. But yeah, I'm just worried they won't be able to make it interesting. It's going to be like, he's like the 4 other Padawans that had to leave during Order 66 because every Jedi apparently survived.
I mean, I'm waiting for the episode 8 conversation between him and Wim, where Wim's like, "You're a Jedi, you can't be bad." And he's like, "I'm not a Jedi, I just know party tricks, you know?"
I killed Jedi.
He finally takes off that spinning lightsaber off his back
And
that he's had the
flies
entire
away.
time.
So Fern does yield and says, all right, I really don't want to die for this ship.
Yeah.
You can have it. And he's like a little bit relieved, but he's like, good, arrest them for mutinous intent. But then Wim's like, walks out and he's like, not on my watch.
I'm like, that shit's gonna open upside down, I know it.
You were so hoping, and they did it, and it was so funny. He almost cut off his
just like
entire
skidded
leg.
across the floor. It's like,
Yeah, it's even funny because like his whole thing is the love of Jedi, and finally gets a lightsaber and doesn't know which end is which.
yeah.
Peak.
So funny.
So
And I'm like,
good.
and we've never seen like a lightsaber in the hands of a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
And like it just like fumbling around on the floor and like going.
Then the episode just ends.
Yeah, they just escape.
Yeah,
And then it just ends on like a weird, I don't know, just like a half a sentence from Jod.
it was a complete episode minus like the tippy. Do you know when you look at the moon and you're like, it's a full moon,
And then you're like, oh,
and you're like, maybe tomorrow's the full
there's a
moon.
slither. Yeah.
Tomorrow's the full moon. Unfortunately, because it felt so good up until that point, and then I was like, maybe in my heart I knew that the next episode was shorter. The next episode is, how do they get back onto the ship?
Yeah.
Like, there's really nothing to it.
People who froth over it will find anything to froth over it. They'll be like, the character development of the kids was fucking powerful.
It was
Shut up.
sweet. It just doesn't need to be a whole episode.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be the whole. It should be the beautiful seasoning
Yeah.
on an actual good episode.
It should be the heart of the episode.
Yes.
Not just the whole episode.
Not the whole thing, but it's
Especially weekly. That's the rough part.
yeah. It's Fern and Neil team up, KB and Wim team up. They go their separate ways. You find out that Wim is kind of more of a robot than you think, and if she doesn't get her batteries replaced every now and again, she'll just die.
I'm not sure if die or just be completely
Like go into like a
crippled.
coma for a bit.
There was an accident, they say. Yeah.
Yeah, like they need to literally like get scrap metal and wires and then melt it down in like a weird meth pipe, pour it into a little cast, and then put it into the back of her head.
It doesn't fit. Hush.
Which it's like, you should probably make more than one of those. Like, okay, yeah, what if they last ages? But when's the next time you're going to have those available to you?
Get corroded. We also, we use the example of an EpiPen. Like, this girl's running around without an EpiPen, basically. And we're
How
like,
irresponsible.
if you-
She was away from her parents.
I know
but-
she left in a hurry, but come on, have a little sack.
Yeah, or at least be like, oh, we have the ability to recreate this. Let's just create a couple, right?
Yeah.
We don't see the parents at all this episode.
Which again hurt it maybe. Like,
Yeah, we see Jod, we see the kids. So Jod has really not that much screen time. So we see him coming up from the sewers, covered in treasure.
that was great.
That was great.
He
And
was
then like
so
seeing
excited.
SM33 as well, also covered in treasure. I'm like, that's good. But he gets captured by his old crew.
Yeah, who weren't murdered by the acid.
Correct.
They made the smart move.
Only some people got murdered by acid. Him and Smee get captured, but then the Republic comes and starts blowing up their shit.
And the kids are like, oh, the X-Wings are the good guys. We fucked up like 2 episodes ago. Whoopsies.
like, help, space police, help.
It is kind of stupid. The planet that had security and there was like a banking clan covenant going on didn't have enough security to stop 2 small ships.
Why do we have all this heightened security? And then it's like the pirates just like walking around doing nothing.
They blow up 2 coppers and then just like land.
yeah.
Like, where's your turrets? I don't know.
Okay, something. Or
It
at least
had
like,
to happen.
yeah, it had to, obviously.
Jude Law gets time to act.
Yeah. Jude Law gets to be an adult acting with other adults.
Yep. And he is a very good actor.
Yeah.
He plays this role really well. Like, you're not like, oh, it's Jude Law doing a thing. It's like he is this character, which is really nice. And it's good to see him away from the kids as well and to see how he acts, because we've never seen him in his natural environment.
Yep, as a scoundrel.
Yeah, because he wore a helmet in the first episode, then was a prisoner. So we've never actually seen why he was the captain. Turns out charisma. The Riz is strong with this one.
Yes. And so he's literally like, I found the motherlode of all
Yeah.
motherlodes.
Which sounds like something he's probably told them 3 or 4 times.
Exactly. I guess that's like the first thing they kind of tell us about his character is
Yeah.
like they're sick of his empty promises. And so he's like, I got the craziest haul. Trust me. And you can get in on it.
And it's a little bit gambler's paradox or whatever it's called. They know that he's probably lying, but what if he's not?
I mean,
what if he's
that's
right this
that's
time?
the pirate thing,
Yeah,
you know?
you got to go for that tiny little bit, and you're probably wrong. It really does boil down his whole section to a big speech that he gets because of the pirate code. Apparently,
Yes.
you get an hourglass worth of time to say your case, and he does. It's a great speech, and everyone still kind of goes, but no, but we're not going to kill you anymore. They were going to make him walk the plank out the airlock, and then they decided, we'll keep you alive and bring you with us. And it really does feel like next episode we have to hit at Atten, because KB does reveal that she remembered the address.
Yes.
Like, she also downloaded that.
We find out that KB is pretty much like a supercomputer. She's like, I can do a lot of things.
Yeah, so her relationship with Fern does get strained in this episode. I get why a lot of people resonated with her as a character. Like, if you have any form of disability, being like, trying to hide it from not hide it from your friends, trying not to let it affect your friends' lives even.
Yeah, it's like, I still want to do everything that we did normally, and I don't want it to affect the type of adventures we can go on.
Yeah. And especially because, like, Fern is such a daredevil with the whole riding the bikes and going on races and stuff.
And / rebel. It's like she wants to rebel against everything, whereas KB at this point kind of needs to be cared for, because we see that if something starts to go wrong, that she can literally just like pass out and die. She needs her EpiPen.
Yes, and she says for a brief moment in the last episode that if she goes into the venti area, she might corrode. Basically, that does happen, as we said. Her problem with Fern wasn't built up to. It was forced because they needed it to happen in this episode.
Yeah.
And that is just, again, a problem with the format.
We haven't really seen any tension between them in terms of like, let's do this, and her being like, I can't.
Yeah.
Or like, it's just different now.
Or her regretting it more than once. It really was just this episode, because when she said she might corrode, she said that to Judd and 33. Like, she didn't say it to the person that this whole problem happens with. So it did feel a little bit forced. Like, we're like, okay, we're doing the fourth act. All the kids have to yell at each other and then storm off and go their separate ways. It happens in the Goonies. It happens in Stranger Things. It happens in everything. They don't drag it out forever. Like, there's a lot of fights in movies where they're like, what's a big one? Shrek's a pretty big one, where like Shrek and Donkey go their separate ways. That fourth act moment hits, but it felt like a fucking eternity when I was a kid. And I hate that. Whereas with this, because it is a short episode, it doesn't feel like it dragged on too long, and the kids are doing stuff during this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, Neil and Fern are just climbing a ladder. Like, they're just like, cool, you still on the ladder, guys? All right, back to the interesting thing. All right, back to the ladder? Cool. Just because it felt so forced and contained in this episode, it was really was like, that's what we got this week. And now I have to wait another whole week just to see the next. I think it would probably benefit from the binge, because it is a movie that they've cut up into a bunch of sections.
Yeah.
Why not let me watch it at my own pace? So I think I might rewatch this when it's all out, and I think it probably will function a lot better. And that's Disney's fault. They easily could have greenlit a show that is 12 episodes like Andor. The reason Andor feels so good for a lot of people is because it has 4 arcs in its season. Each one gets 3 episodes. So each one gets an hour. You literally get a beginning, a middle, and an end for each arc. And then at the very end, that arc kind of like bleeds into the next one, like to transition you from the last arc into the new arc. And that's why that works so well, because you get a bunch of discrete arcs.
Honestly, normalize like uneven release schedules for shows. Like, imagine this show was episode 1, episode 2, 3, episode 4, episode 5, 6.
Just blend them at that point, though. Come on.
No, it's like at that point we're getting a double feature this week because we need to get this storytelling across the way. This could have been a double episode release. You get both at once. You get everything of this planet. You know,
yes, that's
what. By the way,
but I would want that, but just make them the one episode, because
they can't. They well, at that point. At that point, it's have an hour and a half, have a movie length episode, or do a double release. Normalize it, because if I had been up to date and I waited a week and I got this episode, I would have been angry.
Yeah, it would have been very disappointing. The moment with KB does hit, but it doesn't hit as hard as it would for other people. Like, some people would be like, yes, this is the episode. Whereas we're just like, this was an episode.
Especially because this is our setup to the episode before the last episode.
Penultimate.
Yes. So I'm pretty sure everything big is going to happen next episode, getting back to Atten, you know, the meeting, a re-meeting with Jod, and then everything's going to be half resolved and half setting up another season that we're never going to get in episode 8. So this is supposed to be our big setup. I mean, and it was. We find out KB knows how to get back to Aladdin, but that's all we got in this episode.
Yeah.
And so unless KB dies in the next one, they've set up
the
nothing.
Reason for setting her up. Yeah.
But we do get a cool ship at the end.
Oh yeah.
They get back on the ship through adventure.
Yep.
Through an Uncharted movie ending-esque adventure of like jumping from a ladder onto a ship and then getting
On
back
the
onto their
outside
ship.
of a moving vehicle.
And then conveniently flying past Wim and KB getting attacked by the giant mother junk crab.
Trash crab.
And then they can jump onto, the speeder or whatever that's towing the ship.
And then the Onyx Cinder just happens to be in the perfect path of like getting eaten by this crab thing. And I was like, oh, that ship is fucked. It was meant to be a reveal that it's called the Onyx Cinder. We have the Lego just here. I forgot to put it out. I probably should have. Yeah, grab them. Why not? We have the Lego Onyx Cinder. It said Onyx Cinder on the box. We've known about this for over a month now. It's not so much of a reveal as I think they wanted it to be. It's not like we had heard of the Onyx Cinder before. It really was Judd being like, ooh, a magical
This
ship.
is the ship of
It's
the
like
guy.
it's like hearing about the Black Pearl for the first time. It didn't mean anything.
This really was.
Yeah.
But essentially what happens is from here backwards, it just kind of plops out like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon or something.
Which kind of makes me feel like that was the original ship and the rest of it was like built onto it, which is pretty cool. But now they can sell 2 toys as well.
Yeah, but essentially becomes, I don't know, it looks pretty sleek.
Yeah, it's more of a cruise liner kind of deal. Like
it essentially just gets cut off from here. And it's just like the long body now with the 2 thrusters, right?
Yeah, and we have no more guns, no more armor, as far as we can tell.
But yeah, and then they just take off into away.
Yeah, it's a recreation of the first episode, how it's like, we're going home because they're heading back to Aladdin. I don't know how they're going to stop the pirates.
Was it KB again who was like, don't worry, I've memorized how to take off on the ship, And it's just like...
Yeah, they all work as a team.
Yes.
What are they? Some kind of skeleton crew?
Wim goes to the guns to like shoot the thing. And,
It doesn't actually help at all.
they eject the coffin or whatever
That's
it's
what it is.
called.
They press the button.
The button that we're not supposed to press?
Yes, that was referenced in the first episode. And that's why it feels like a movie, because I don't remember a month ago where Smee was like, hey, don't press this one button. So they have to waste like 6 lines of dialogue reminding me that happened. I'm like, this wasn't written this way.
Do you know what it reminded me of? Death Race. Have you seen the movie Death Race, Jason Statham?
Yes.
They have
a
the
long time
big
ago.
button that releases the coffin on the back, the tombstone.
Oh, don't.
Release the tombstone.
Drop the tombstone.
They press a button and the armor on the back of his car pops off.
It goes to fuck someone up.
Yes, he uses it as like a last resort to like hit the person behind him. But yeah, they press the button and it sheds their little outer shell and it's like...
Yeah, and then it can barely fly because it's not meant to do this or something.
Another week and we'll see what happens next.
I'm gonna watch it. Like, I want to watch it.
I'm gonna watch it.
I just want it now.
Yeah, but also...
You'll
don't.
forget about it and maybe...
I'm going to forget about it.
If I didn't remind
You're going to have
you-
to remind me.
Yeah.
I forgot this show existed. I have way less important things in my life that are taking
Yeah,
priority.
it is a bit that show, especially, which is unfortunate. Again, it does boil down to the surprisingly good. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
What, do you like it? Tell us. Here's a comment from last week. Maybe is a thing I might start doing.
That's cool. I like that.
Damn that comment.
Why is this guy so mean about us? Write your comment of the week down below. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll find it.